billion. And listen, money's money, but there's a big gap between the two.
Right.
How is it, if debt and deficits, if the fiscal cliff was priority top, how are we now working on a budget that balloons it?
Yeah, because it's always been, as you know, a red herring, right? You and I talked about this a lot. There's an idea that it's not about how much you spend, but where you spend, who gets the benefits. Because if you and I have had a million conversations with a lot of people about this, if you reduce the tax burden on wealthy people, you unleash animal spirits, and they take their money and do fantastic things that used to be called trickle down, but now they're just going to do fantastic things that are going to make everything better.
Yes, or they take it offshore.
Or they take it offshore, right? We don't know where they take it.
The Cayman Islands,
right?
Yes,
and so that's the problem. That we don't say animal spirits anymore. We don't do that now. Actually, the people with the animal spirits are actually very worried about what Donald Trump is doing to the economy. But that's the problem. We're working off of a non-strategy as it relates to manufacturing and a non-strategy as it relates to tariffs, and we're working off the same playbook as it relates to tax cuts and spending. And so we're going to see, once again, for the last 50 years, we've seen a wealth shift from the median American to the wealthiest Americans, and we're going to see a continuation of that. But you have to cut the $150 billion, which was supposed to be $2 trillion, to pay for the tax cuts. We're not even coming close, as you know. The tax cuts are $4-point-something trillion, and they're using some magic math to say that they were going to happen anyway, so we're not actually counting it. This is just crazy stuff.
And in fact, they're now talking about having to cut Medicaid to get there. Right. So they're going to gut a federal health care program that about 20% of the American public nationally relies on, mainly low-income and disabled Americans who don't have access otherwise to a very expensive and inefficient health care system. And to get to their number, they're going to have to take out Medicaid.
Okay, then here's my question. So let's say
from Medicaid
let's pretend I'm a Republican in Congress, and I'm guessing big CEOs have been calling them all week saying, I'll back you, dude. You got to take your power back. For some reason, they spoke out a little, but not much. What is winning in this administration that is keeping Republicans in Congress from taking their power back and out of the president's executive order-a-thon? When they go to their home districts, what are they saying? This is working for us. This is working for you. Please vote for me next year.
Fear. They are afraid. It's just like the grad students.
But hold on. Fear of what? Because shouldn't they fear their constituents saying, I'm afraid about Medicaid, I'm afraid about Medicare, I'm afraid about tariffs?
Yes, they should. They should work for their constituents. But we know, and we saw this in the cabinet appointees fight, these guys they don't want the mean tweets. They don't want the guys, hassling them. They don't want Trump and Elon funding the person they're competing against.
Yes.
I mean, we saw this, Tom Tillis, right? He is up for re-election in the next cycle, and he is worried. And he is like the only person, and he barely was able to stand up to the tariffs, and he could very well lose his Senate seat. These guys I think they're cowardly, but I also think they've never had a moment to be brave. And that's what we're seeing with these law firms. These people, bravery is contagious. And and this is the moment that we have to do it. And these people just have never had to do it.
Cowardice seems a bit more. Cowardice seems to be a little more contagious these days.
And it's fealty, right? And they are fearful of Trump, and they are more fearful of Trump than they are of their constituents. Right. And that continues to consolidate. And I always want to go back to national security, because I'm not worried about the stock analyst who won't speak up. I'm worried about the general who won't speak up when he wants to do something extreme, like bomb Iran, or throw troops down on the border, or invoke the Insurrection Act.
And hold on,
if I can.
Or enact martial law.
Exactly. Which is right now, Donald Trump is waiting for a proposal back from the Pentagon about how to invoke the Insurrection Act, which is a whole new level of loyalty. And when the military purge cascades across the entire national security apparatus and across our politics, that's how bad it can get.
But none
and
of
then you
this
get troops on the street.
But none of this exists in a vacuum.
No, but there's people like Don Bacon is on my show this week, right? Don Bacon's a moderate Republican. He is pushing back. He tried to rein Trump in on tariffs. He's opposing him on Ukraine. Let's see what happens to Don Bacon, because if it's like Joni Ernst, she got smushed. right? She got intimidated and smushed.
Don
We'll see
Bacon
what happens
canceled
now.
on me this week, so we're going to move on from
No,
that. Just quickly,
that
just
says
as it
something,
relates,
though, right?
as it relates, no, actually, they had a vote, but as it relates to the law firms, okay, I get it that Wall Street people were never in it, you know, for civics or doing good. They were in it for the money. But law firms, you would think at some point when they went into that business, it's because they cared about the country and the rule of law. If when Donald Trump went first after Paul Weiss, one of the big issues is that the rest of the industry, the rest of the big firms, then went diving after Paul Weiss to steal their clients.
Right.
If the entire industry stood together arm in arm and said, you're not going to bully us. We represent the rule of law. We represent America. We wouldn't be in this situation. Instead, fast forward to today, the White House announces, just got another $600 million in pro bono from 5 other law firms.
If we don't hang together, we'll hang separately.
Right.
You know, that goes, right? That is a worthwhile advice for the ages. And the reality is that Americans are becoming too intimidated by Donald Trump and his minions. There's reasons to fear what he's doing. He's got the power of the federal purse. He's got the power of the military, and he's clearly angling to be able to deploy the military in the streets.
And he's already deploying ICE.
And he's already deploying ICE in the streets.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, everybody is sharing their MVPs of the week. Don't go anywhere. Well,